The Stage Door Show, celebrating the independent artist. With your host, Dave Hondell.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Stage Door Show tonight. This is Dave Hondell. I'm really excited tonight because we have another fellow Minnesotan who grew up in Minnesota, like myself. We had recent entertainer Katie Tessman, who I went to school with, but we have another Minnesotan with us tonight, and I'm so excited to bring her in. Her name is Samantha Grimes, and she was just nominated and won the 2023 International Singer-Songwriters Award for Entertainer of the Year. So Samantha, thank you for being with us tonight.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, it's a pleasure to have you on. And, you know, and I talked a little bit about this with Katie. I want to talk to you about this as well, because a lot of the venues in the Midwest, you know, whether it's Minnesota, Wisconsin, you know, that 5-state area there, I mean, there's some really iconic places to play music. And even if it's not iconic, I mean, some of the great, you know, listening rooms, bars, you know, there's a lot of places to play in that area. And, you know, and they fill up the place too. And that's the one thing that I love, going to listen to, you know, singer-songwriters and those venues to talk about playing in those, first of all, and about the love of music that I think the people from the Midwest have.
Oh, very much so. You know, I was recently in Nashville in October, and I came back with this immense appreciation for our music scene. I mean, I've been doing this a very, very long time. I started in my teens performing out in the Twin Cities, and I never fully understood nor grasped how inclusive and supportive and just all in all, it's a great place for singer-songwriters. And I came back home just feeling so glad to be here. And you're right, the venues, even like the listening rooms, the like backdoor yard concerts, all of that kind of stuff. It's just, we have a tremendous appreciation here for music. And that's why I love being from here.
Yeah, me too. And that's one thing. I've been away for about 18 years, but, you know, I always fondly talk about, like, you know, the places that, you know, that musicians play there. And I mean, there's some famous people that continue to play in the Twin Cities because of just because of the love of the music there. And, you know, a lot of Prince's, you know, bandmates that he had over the years and the time, and a lot of people never left the Twin Cities because of that. And, you know, so I have a lot of appreciation for that as well. But, you know, Nashville, so I know you've been to Nashville as well. And Nashville is, you know, obviously Music City. But again, you know, it's like you can put your footprint anywhere as an indie artist. So talk about being an indie artist and the grind that goes along with it. And, you know, I don't think people really understand. And that's why we celebrate them on our show, and talk about being an indie artist and just what you have to go through without having a huge team of people, number one. And, you know, a lot of the bookings and a lot of, you know, your own website and things like that, you know,
Right.
you do yourself. So, I mean, talk about being an indie artist and really what goes into that.
Of course. I think what a lot of people don't realize is that as an independent artist, you are doing your own bookings. You are maintaining your own schedule. You're maintaining your own gear. You are doing everything from A to Z that is included in this wonderful craft. And I think the internet has changed so much, because when I first started, I was recording demos on one of those old school Windows pencil mics that you could buy at Walmart.
Right. Yeah.
And using Windows Recorder and then burning them onto a CD and you know, peddling them to anyone that would listen. And now the internet has changed that to where you don't have to move to Nashville. You don't have to move to LA or any of those other music meccas, that you can reach people from the comfort of your hometown or your home state. And the beauty is, I remember I had set up an email address for a fake person when I was pretending to be my own booking agent, like early 2003, 2004.
Yeah.
And now I think the clout of an independent artist has changed things to, I don't have to pretend to be someone else to go after my bookings. I hustle, and I contact so many people. I knock on doors, I make phone calls, and you have to get very comfortable with the idea of no, or the idea of a place not even responding to you. But that's what makes the shows that you do book and the places that appreciate you and treat you like rock stars. I mean, that makes it all so much more worth it. I always tell a story. Are you familiar with the Happy Trucker Productions?
I'm
They were
not.
out of Bram, Minnesota.
No.
So he runs a radio station that basically serves up independent artists and ran a listening room. And I remember going up there and speaking with him on his show. His name is Sean, and it was just like they recognize, just like you, that independent artists are really taking on a huge role to pursue their craft and their passion. And that's why it's cool to see people like you and other people in this area that respect that and want to embrace and support it. And that's what, I don't know, makes all the hustle worth it. And it was so funny. Today I got asked a question by a stranger on the lovely interwebs, and it was saying, why do you post so much on Facebook? It's like, that's how I've garnered a large amount of my fan base. And it's because I'm constantly engaging and interacting with people. And sure, a huge component of that is the music that I write and that I put out there. But another is just that social nature of being a singer-songwriter. You're constantly networking, you're constantly talking to people, both in the business and out, just to continue to grow what you're doing. And yeah, I don't know. I guess being an independent artist, that's the main keyword I assign to it, is hustle. I'm hustling.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta be your own business person. I mean, I think that
Yep.
no matter what you do, whether it's, music, acting, being an author, or anything in the arts, if you don't have a business mind, I guess nowadays, because the competition is so great, I don't think people realize this is as well. Back in the day, you really needed to get a record contract in order for any kind of distribution. Nobody would have heard
Right.
you otherwise, or you would have had to, play in, I don't know how many different towns in the United States for people to understand who you were.
Right.
But now with, obviously social media and the streaming and, people, I think it's a double-edged sword sometimes, because obviously, it's great to have all the streaming platforms, because I mean, myself, this is what I do as well. Nobody would hear me if I didn't have the streaming platforms available. But at the same time, you almost have to do something as an artist that sets you apart from the others. And
Yeah.
it's not just about performing, but it's also about writing your own music. And it's great to be a cover band, or a cover musician, but that'll take you so far.
Right.
And if you don't write your own music, it's nobody's gonna look at you as somebody unique, or somebody that's
Right. You
unlike
can't
somebody
stand
else that
out.
you go to every bar in, right? So, I
Yeah.
mean, playing cover music is great, because everybody's does it, I think. But what do you talk about songwriting a little bit, and talk, because you've been nominated several times, and obviously you won in 2023 for Entertainer of the Year, but you've been nominated several times as well, by the the Josie Awards, the the International Singer Songwriters Association. So talk about the recognition you received for being a songwriter, because it's not an easy task.
No. I've been writing songs since I was 6 years old.
Right.
I remember early on, my mother wanted me to be a Christian music singer-songwriter and write about Jesus. And as I got older and got out there in the world a little bit, I'm like, oh no, that's not my shtick. And
Yeah.
so my writing has evolved, and now it's crazy. In a way, I'm like, hey, where was everybody 20, 30 years ago when I was first writing music?
Right.
But the other side of it is, I don't think I was in a place to understand what a big deal it is to have your music appreciated in that way and to earn that recognition. And I honestly, I've looked at my lyrics, from 11-year-old Sam and 17-year-old Sam, 22-year-old Sam, and they have just completely changed. The core of who I am as a songwriter has always been a storyteller, and so that component remains the same, but kind of the polishing and the emotions behind it have evolved so much. So that, I think the first time I was nominated for Songwriter of the Year was three, maybe 4 years ago. And obviously I didn't win. And the nominations alone are a huge achievement,
Right.
especially
Right.
when, like, even with the Josie Music Awards, I think it was like 52,000 nominations had rolled in for that certain set of criteria. And I remember thinking to myself, that puts me in like what,
Yeah. I
0.001%
mean,
of
that's why it's
something
like
that
a
actually
win in
got nominated.
itself. Right.
Yeah. So the nomination alone is such an achievement and something I'm very proud of. But then this summer, between the ISSAs in Atlanta, Georgia, where I won Entertainer of the Year, and then being nominated and going to the Grand Ole Opry with the Josie Music Awards, and even not winning there, it was still like, holy cow, this is legitimacy. This is showing the world that, I'm not just writing down my thoughts on a post-it note and, putting them out there, hoping, maybe nobody will notice it. No, I'm putting it out there because I'm proud of what I've written and other people are taking notice. And that's incredibly validating for me as a songwriter. Um, and it's exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still a kid at heart where I'm like, oh my gosh, they gave me an award. And you should have seen, I was laughing because at the ISSA Awards, they're held at the Sandy Springs Performing Center in Atlanta, and that's where they have the BMI Awards.
Oh, okay.
But
Yeah.
it was so funny because I was nominated for three categories: Songwriter of the Year, and I think like another Rising Star one, and then Entertainer of the Year. And the first two categories had long gone. It was a long program. It was 3 to 4 hours. And my sister and brother-in-law were with me, and I looked over at the like towards the end, thinking to myself, Entertainer of the Year is like Best Picture at the Oscars. I was like, I'm not winning that. If I didn't win any other things, I'm not winning that. I leaned
Yeah.
over and I said, I'm starving. We should get out of here.
And
I'm
you
so
won.
glad. My sister's like, no, we're staying. You wore a dress, you wore heels, we're staying. And I'm so glad I did because they announced my name and it was surreal. I heard my song Wendy Darling that, was written like 20 minutes flat and turned out to be this huge success. It's playing over the loudspeakers of this phenomenal theater. And it's incredible. It's awesome. And
Did you
I'm
have a
so
speech?
happy.
Did you have a speech written out already?
No, absolutely not. I had no true belief. You always hope it's just like, oh, maybe I'll win prom queen, but you're not gonna. And so I didn't write anything. I
You
just was
never know.
excited to be, yeah, I was excited to be a part of it. And then when I won, and as people were going up to the podiums with all of the awards prior to that, I'm like, why are they so out of breath? And I realized that it's because all of a sudden you're thinking, holy crap,
Yeah.
how am I going to thank everybody that's been involved
Yeah.
and represent all the blood, sweat, and tears that have gone into everything? But I think I did an okay job. But
Yeah.
it's
Well,
awesome. And
that's amazing.
yeah,
Congratulations, because that's a big
thank
deal.
you.
And, it just kind of validates everything that you've done and up to this point.
Yeah,
And, and again, just, making the Midwest proud there. And, like I said, I haven't been back in a long time, but, I know that it's still a big music mecca, and it continues to grow, and a lot of,
yeah,
bands and a lot of, popular, people are coming out of Minnesota to this day. When I was growing up, it was, the Time and Prince and,
yeah.
the Rembrandts, and, I know that
Remember that.
Next, and just
Next, yeah.
a lot of people, coming out of the Twin Cities and that Minneapolis sound. I mean, there's just, just so many people that are making us proud there. But, and yourself and Katie and the rest. I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
there's a band called None Above that are about to break out too. So
I played with None Above.
yeah, I'm good friends. I'm good friends with them. I've had them on the show a few times, and just, just like I said, Minnesota is just making me proud. Even not being there
Incredible.
anymore. But,
Oh my gosh.
I think one thing I want to ask, because this is being an indie artist as well. What kind of venue is there a venue out there that you've always wanted to play,
Yes.
and then what's that dream venue for you?
First Avenue main room,
Oh,
yellow.
okay, really?
I I have
I
played
like that answer. That's a good answer.
every other in the conglomerate that is the First Avenue. I mean, they've got the Turf Club, they've got the Fine Line, a bunch of the theaters, like they have all those. I've played every one of them except for the main room, and I'm going to do it. And I keep every interview I do and every moment where someone's like, where do you want to play? I want to play the main
First
room. And
Avenue.
I'm sure, yes, the bookers are
People
probably
are
so sick of
listening, that
me.
was where they filmed Purple Rain. But little
Yep.
trivia about First Avenue. I don't know if you know this either, but what did that used to be? Do you know what that used to be years ago before it was a
Wasn't it a
nightclub?
ballroom or a dance, like a roller rink or something like
It
that?
was actually the Greyhound Bus Depot.
What? No, I
Yeah,
didn't know that.
and
That's
the
so cool.
checkered floor is the original floor of the lobby of the Greyhound Bus Depot. And it doesn't have a backstage. That's another thing people don't realize, that the bands that play there, actually their backstage is their tour bus, and it's parked right outside. So that, and in Purple Rain, all that backstage stuff was all somewhere else. It was made up basically. And so it's a very small venue, but very popular venue. Almost anybody who's
Yeah.
anybody has ever played there. So that's a great answer. And before it was
Yes.
Greyhound Bus Depot, guess what it was?
What?
Jefferson School for the Girls. That was the original building before it was.
Therefore,
I
I am
love
destined.
history. I love Minnesota history. So I've researched a lot of different things. But yeah, before it was Greyhound Bus Depot, it was Jefferson School for the Girls. Now you know.
I'm going to write them a letter and be like, you know what? It was willed to me from my great great grandmother that I perform here.
There you go.
We'll see how far that gets me.
Well, hey, if you ever play there, let us know, because we want to have you back on for for that
I will.
performance, because
Believe me.
That's iconic. And
Mhm.
to play that First Avenue, I mean, Joe Cocker's played there. I mean, you name it. Besides Prince and everybody else, all the stars on the outside are all the people who played there. It's just a who's who of music. I think Tina Turner even played there. It's just
Yep.
amazing.
Well, and I always tell them, because I've gotten a good relationship with some of the booking agents there, and they gave a chance, and I opened for Eli Young Band at the Fine Line.
Yeah.
Incredible, packed house. I mean,
Yeah.
it was surreal. It was an amazing experience. And through that, I think I held my own and did a good job. And so they're like, well, when you see somebody come through that you think you would want to be a support for, you shoot us a message and we'll see. Everybody that's remotely related to my genre, I'm like, hey guys, that's me. They're probably like, that's Sam. She needs to leave us alone.
You got to put yourself out there. And
Oh yeah.
the Minnesota, did you ever play the Minnesota State Fair?
Yeah, in a way. I did the talent show.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, long ago when I was just a bumpkin.
Well, that's a big deal too. I mean, if whoever's listening to this, the talent show at Minnesota State Fair is big. I mean, it packs.
Mhm.
It's packed. Like, it sells out every single year, and I just loved going to the talent show at the Minnesota State Fair, and it's in the grandstand. I mean, thousands of people are there, and it's just an amazing event. So just to play that was amazing too.
Yeah.
What do you want to do, like, in 5 years, and where do you want to be with your career in like 5 years from now?
Well, so it's interesting. Fun fact about me is I have a full-time day gig, as they say in the industry. I'm an accountant. And I always said that music, if it could pay my bills, like my student loans and my mortgage and all that stuff, I would gladly do it full time. But I'm at a point that I'm blessed enough to feel secure and be able to work and do what I've got to do and do music for fun. And yeah, obviously the money's good when you play good shows and stuff like that. That's wonderful, and it fosters my addiction to guitars. But I see myself in 5 years just doing what I'm doing now. Hopefully by then I have played First Avenue.
Yeah.
But I just want to keep writing and releasing music and playing music with my friends and having experiences. And that's what I think a lot of people, I talk to different artists, through the circuit when you're playing different shows, and everyone's, either not necessarily complaining, but griping about certain aspects of the music industry. And I'm sitting there wide-eyed because I'm just so happy to be here, happy to be included. And like, we all went through the pandemic and that chaos that ensued with the entertainment industry. And I think that I'm just lucky to be playing music, 30 odd years later than when I started. And if I'm lucky enough to keep playing in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, I'm a happy camper.
Yeah, that's great. That's well said. looking at your website, and I encourage everybody to go to samanthagrimesmusic.com. You have merch on there, you have contact information, you have a photo gallery, and you have your shows and with a calendar and your information about your music. But you have some shows coming up, so why don't you talk about that? Where can people find you?
I would love to talk about that. So I am, let's see here. Well, I'm not sure when this is going to air, but I am playing tomorrow, which is December 22nd, up in Duluth, Minnesota, at a place called the Caddy Shack, which the first time I played there a handful of times. I was a little concerned because I thought, ooh, I'm going to be stuck in a place that I'm going to get hit by a pool ball, So, billiard ball, that's a technical term. But they have the best sound engineer, and they always make me feel like $1 million when I go up there. So I'm excited for that. And then I get a little break, and starting in February, I hit it hard again. I'll be down in Iowa for a couple of shows. I'm playing the Big Turn Music Festival, which is in Red Wing, Minnesota. Huge, huge weekend of music for that area, and it's just a blast. Then in March, which is also my birthday month, I get to go and play the Rock Thaw, which is Rochester's music festival, kind of getting into the spring of things. See what I did there? And then, and the last one I want to highlight, just because it's just coming together, is May 9th with our girl, Katie Tessman, and a couple of other musicians that are also mothers. We kind of got this idea that we're all mamas who rock. I'm a mom. And I thought it would be fun to get a few of us together to play a show. And the Green Room in Minneapolis is kind enough to be hosting us for this event. And we're trying to get some partnership with Domestic Abuse Project and a couple of other organizations that support, partner violence and domestic violence. So I think that's going to be a heck of a show, and that's going to be May 9th at the Green Room. So, wow. And then aside from that, there's all these other shows that come and go, and places that I'm sure I'll be yelling and screaming in excitement about on my website or the Book of Faces or Instagram.
That's awesome. And, so everybody check out that on the website. And also, before we go, just want to ask you what you want your legacy to be. What do you want people to walk away with when it's all said and done, when they think of your name?
You can do whatever you want. You don't have to be just a musician. You don't have to be just a mom. You don't have to be an accountant or anything like that. I want my legacy, just as I always tell my daughter, I want you to know that you can do whatever you set out your mind to do. And if somebody hears my music and think, yeah, she just went for it, I think that's a heck of a legacy to have. Yeah,
100%. Well, Samantha, thank you for joining us on the show, and much success to you in your future. And can't wait to have you back on the show to talk about your big performance at First Avenue.
Yes.
And
believe me, your inbox will blow up.
That's motivation for you.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Anyway, thank you for being on the show, and Merry Christmas to you.
You too, and thanks for having me.